What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi and Eric Tabor. We're going to be talking through Week 6 of the NFL. It's an interesting slate with obviously, once you get past like Week 3, there's always like a million question tags that are going to dictate where the ownership goes on the slate. We saw it last week. We might see it again this week. I'm going to start really quick with not even a complaint because it was I guess lucky for my lineup that Jordan Mason got injured, but I had the Garendo and I had him as a captain son.
How'd you have that?
Because he's their rookie. He's got 4.33 speed, and they've been using him even with Mason. And Thursday nights after Sundays, you tend to see more backup running backs play. So I had that. But the weird part is, if he scores the touchdown there, I had him as a captain at literally it was like 0.04% or whatever it was. It was like 1 out of every 10 million people. There's probably 3 people who had it in the whole tournament. So that touchdown, if he gets in there, and not only that, on the next play, they give him the ball, he loses 1 yard, which takes away his 100-yard bonus.
Oh my God!
I went from winning a nice, big, winning, profitable slate to a losing slate, and just like that.
Was he in the optimal?
No, but he would have been had he scored. He would have been like the 3rd highest scoring player.
Did people play him? I mean,
no, he was like I think in the flex he was like 4%, 5%.
Oh my God! How did he not make optimal? That's
because there were so many guys who scored 20 something.
Oh, that's right. They scored 38 points that game.
Right. And he would have scored, but he would have been exactly at 20 had he scored there.
That's brutal.
So that was kind of brutal. But again, I don't even know that I would have won, but I know that it would have been really close.
Dude, the guy at 4.33 speed. Who the hell freaking caught him? Usain Bolt?
No, but he literally slid. He slid down.
Oh, he did it on purpose, you think?
He did because they had the time left. So I don't think he knew what to do.
I don't know. I saw that. I saw that replay. It looks like he caught him.
Well, yeah, but then if you see him, he slows down, and then after the game, apparently he said that he was sliding there, and he thought that was the right thing to do because they were up. They were up to score to run out the clock, basically. Of course, they threw the play to Kittle at the next one, so that was a whole different thing. Anyway, but we're on to another week here. Obviously, both coming off of really good weeks. I had a really nice Bane slate last week. You won the showdown last week, FanDuel. So
I also did well in DraftKings last week.
That's right. You did well in the main slate too.
Yep.
So okay, let's.
Oh, it's so funny. I just shared my screen too. It's so funny.
Oh, okay, here let's do yours. Let's do yours.
I'm just using the DraftKings.
We'll do it the old school way.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Any overall thoughts before we jump into it?
Yeah, I'm actually prepared. I mean, I have like top 6 quarterbacks listed, top 6 running backs listed, top 6 receivers listed, tight end, defense. I have like some. I'm actually prepared to do this a little bit. So
yeah,
that's because it's Friday, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's Friday, but at the same time, I still feel like I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. Although I know,
obviously.
All right, so let's go through it. Washington, Baltimore. This is my number 1 game on the slate by a long ways. I don't think that's anything unusual, except for that you're not going to get much ownership, and I feel this is a very similar situation to what made me the money. It almost made me all the money last week with the Baltimore and Cincinnati. So if this game can stay close, and I think it should. I'm all over every piece of this game. There's nobody I'm underweight on. I will have there won't be a receiver who has a name that I probably won't have some exposure to. I just feel like you're playing Washington, which is like Coors Field. And if Washington's able to put up points and make them throw the ball, if they're somehow able to stop the run a little bit, and even if they don't, you play Henry, whatever. I think this is the game that is so far and away above every other game for me. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I am going to be very, very heavily invested here on all facets. Lamar and Jaden are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks, probably my 2 favorite quarterbacks. And you get low ownership on the receivers. So I'm very heavy here. How about you? You don't think it's going to happen?
I think somebody's going to win. I think one of us is going to win. Yeah, I'm not on that. Although I have Lamar as the top quarterback on the slate. I don't know exactly how to play him, but I have him as just the best quarterback. If I were playing cash, I would have like 1, 2, 3. I have like 6 quarterbacks listed, and Lamar would be one of the top ones. I'm just, again, I'm kind of glad that I'm not getting big projections out of this game because I would, I have no proof of this. But I just have this feeling Washington's a little bit of a fraud, but not a big one. Okay, fair enough. They got a good coordinator. Daniels has shown it, but I think that the competition's been a little fishy as far. And I don't think Washington scores this game that much. So I'm just a little different. I'm actually also not getting to Henry either. So this is a very, very strange game because it does have probably one of the top totals on the slate, I imagine.
But nobody's playing it.
And nobody's playing it because no one's projecting well, right? So
Right.
so if you could just say, just like, I'll ignore it, I'll just freaking I'll play it somehow. And listen, you know who to play if you're playing the Washington guys, right? You play McLaurin, right? You play Jaden Daniels, and then on the Baltimore side, I'm not exactly sure who to play. I mean, you can't. Mark Andrews, I think, is officially unplayable now.
He's coming back to being playable. I think they're starting to look for him more.
Really? I mean, every time he throws to somebody with an 8 on it, it's somebody else. I mean, it's either
no. I understand. He's the tight end. I mean, likely had the 2 touchdowns last week, but Jackson.
The other guy, Kohler had like the other targets or whatever.
Well, Andrews had 5. Andrews had the most targets and the highest snap share, but he also did. In all fairness, I agree that's probably the riskiest part of the game. I don't think it's as hard to know. I'm much higher on Zay Flowers maybe than everybody else is.
That's a big price for him, sir.
6,500. I'll take it, man. Like I like the Zay Flowers play. I mean, he had 11 catches last week, by the way. He just didn't happen to get in the end zone.
I'll tell you who I like. I like the McCaffrey. That's what I like. At 3,700.
I'm in on that.
That I like. I could play what looks like a pretty expensive Daniels with McCaffrey and McLaurin. That I can do. And I might actually. I mean, like you said, it's not going to be particularly high owned because again, Daniel, it's just expensive. It just is. So his ownership will be like 4%. It's kind of scary, I think, because he's like one of the top, if not the top, fantasy producer, right?
These are the top 2.
Yeah. So DraftKings is putting it to people. You know, they're giving. Listen, Baltimore. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. I definitely like Lamar. And I wouldn't know how to play him. So, and
by the way, just one more thing about the Flowers, and I know I'm going a little bit overboard, but this is the game I want to talk the most about because I really think it's being misowned. I know the price might seem like a lot for Flowers. Has dinner every night before the Sunday games with Lamar. Lamar, they started this recently, and Flowers, the way he was looking for him last week, it was just fluky that Flowers didn't have a monster game. But you need the game script to go right because we know Baltimore over manages the game once they get ahead. And I just think you play the different angles of it. I know you're not playing it, but anybody who is, get some of the McCaffrey, get some of the Lamar stacks with Derrick Henry. That's totally fine. But make your main one the Flowers, and I think that you can even mix in the tight ends. I'm maybe a little crazy on this game, but Baltimore makes me the most money, and if the team that I know the best in the NFL, except for the Rams, probably better than the Rams at this point because they're usually better, but. I really like the upside, but I also worry about that 35-7 Baltimore wins without having to do much, and their defense scores 2 touchdowns or something. All right, Arizona, Green Bay, another interesting one. What do you think of this one, Sheets?
As far as the individual players are concerned, I don't really have any of them as like kind of top plays in any position, right? But it seems as though the game should deliver, like Green Bay can put up points. Arizona can give up points. Arizona could put up points as well. But these prices are not so easy, For Arizona, Harrison 7,200. That's kind of rough, I think. McBride, even if he is back and healthy, 5,700. That's. I mean, not that it's terrible, but it's no bargain. Green Bay, the problem there is that there's like bodies. Like if I presume Dobbs is going to be back.
Yep.
Yeah. So if Dobbs is back, then we got like three wide receiver ones, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like right. Reed, Dobbs, and Wicks. I wouldn't even know who to play.
But honestly, that's it. That's not even counting Christian Watson, who might actually be there. Like we don't even know. Like other
right.
than
not to mention Tucker Kraft.
Right.
Who is limited anyway. I mean, you know what I mean. So I just don't think I can get to much in this game, actually.
Yeah, I think McBride and Jacobs, just from the straight up, like if the plays from the game make the most sense to me. I like McBride a lot at tight end. I like Jacobs a lot. And those would be my, and I even think James Conner deserves a little bit of a nod, but I like this game. It's one of those where those are the only plays I like outside of the game stacks. But if you're going to stack it, I think you could play both sides of it. And it's easier to play the Arizona side. You could just play either McBride and or Harrison with Kyler, running it back with Jacobs. But you're going to be playing a little bit of roulette with Green Bay. But if you embrace it, we've seen that it can pay off. So this is one of the games that I have targeted, but I'm lower on it than I am a few of the other ones. All right, Houston, New England.
I'll let you start with this one.
There's not much for me to say on this one. I have basically, I don't even know what I would do if I did anything. First of all, I'd like to know if Joe Mixon's healthy. I guess I could play him, but I don't even really want to do that. I think Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs without Collins have got to be in consideration. Maybe Xavier Hutchinson is a low-owned play, but mostly it feels like a cross-off. It just if Tank Diggs was a little cheaper, and if Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs were a little bit cheaper, I'd have some interest. But I don't think there's anything I really like in this game personally.
All right, so it's Friday, right?
Yeah,
and that's why I had you start. And no one's going to remember this, right? And if I remember it, I'll mention it Sunday. This is winning. Okay. I'm in with the Drake May experience.
You're on the Drake May.
I'm in with the Drake May and the James K. Polk at 3,600 and the Demario Douglas at 4,400 against the Houston defense that can give up freaking points. And I'm kind of down with this. I can't imagine they project well. But I'm good with this idea. So I'm gonna play this stuff. If they project where I get 2% of them, I'm gonna get 15. I'm just gonna take a shot. The receivers are just too cheap. If in fact this guy can freaking throw the ball, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of down with this. I like the Polk and I like Demario Douglas, and I do like the fact that I think Houston can give up some freaking yards, and stuff. So just in case this Drake May experience works, on a 10-game slate or whatever this is, I'm gonna try it. And obviously you could play, like you said, the Tank Dell and whatever. And listen, New England's no easy task to rack up yards again. So the last time New England got in a shootout was like Brady at quarterback, I think. So I can't imagine how this actually happens. And then I see a rain cloud also. You know what I mean? Like, can't imagine how this actually works. But and hopefully I talk myself off this by Sunday. But it just kind of came to me in a dream. That's my analysis.
Okay.
That I'm, and it started with the receivers and just the overall variance of giving the quarterback the shot. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of down with it. So we'll see what happens.
And look, it's not the worst idea in the world. One thing you've got 5K Drake May's 5K, and he's like, one thing about him, he can move also. He's going to run the ball some too. So I don't hate that because the pricing. Maybe you could even do like a skinny stack of this and then just stack up another expensive game that you like with it, because you don't really need to necessarily have a run back from Houston. You could, but you don't need it. And you've got Hunter Henry, who actually think is the one name you didn't mention.
There you go. All three of them. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it makes some sense. Okay, all right. Maybe I'll let you talk me into it. For what it's worth, I do love New England with the points.
All right. Speaking of which,
yes.
Okay. If you didn't like any of that, okay. We got Spencer Rattler is 4K. I have no idea who this is. Okay. But he's got Rashid Shaheed and Christian Olave to throw it to in the dome against Tampa, who just had like a 800-point shootout against Atlanta. I actually think that at the end of the day, Rattler is going to be popular at 4K.
I agree.
And I'm kind of good with this also. I'll play all this in a dome. These guys are just too cheap. And Tampa, I mean, certainly play the Tampa experience. You know, Evans, Godwin, what's his name? Mayfield. I don't think I'm going to do the Shepherd at 3,300, but yeah, I think I'm going to do all this.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. We are on different pages here, but
I hope I talk myself off. This is so not my style to play these freaking 4K, 5K garbage cans.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's just so freaking cheap. I don't know if I can avoid it.
One thing I want to point out that I think everything you said, and I thought I went through this before. It all hinges to me on, and it's not official yet. If Taysom Hill plays, then he becomes to me the best tight end play on the slate.
That could be.
No Derek Carr, and you're going to see him probably with almost as many snaps as Rattler. Like, I mean, it's totally possible. I don't know why they wouldn't do that, in fact. So if Taysom Hill is available, I can get behind going after this game. I actually like the Saints defense. I really like the Saints in this game, even without a quarterback. It just feels like they shouldn't be big dogs at home. I don't know. I'm sort of in on the New Orleans side a little bit. I don't like Kamara as much because you just don't run the ball in Tampa Bay. We know what they do to the running game. I keep pointing it out every week. You don't run it, you throw it. Unfortunately, they don't have guys to throw it. So that leaves me with Taysom Hill becoming, if he's available, the top, or probably the top point per dollar tight end. And in terms of like Godwin, and by the way, Rattler can put up fantasy points. He played for Atlanta last year. He's really sloppy around the goal line. He had the 4 turnovers, like within inside the 5 or something like that in the first couple games last year. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time pairing receivers with him. I do think that the Godwin it's another good Godwin game, and it's always a Mike Evans is okay play. So Godwin is probably my highest level of interest, but if Taysom Hill plays, I might have to reconsider some stacks of that game. Cleveland, Philadelphia.
Yeah, this game could be kind of ugly, I think. Deshaun Watson is just kind of bad, and not only that, but he's been kind of bad in pretty decent matchups as well. And it doesn't get any easier for him. I can't play the Cleveland side of this ball. The Philly side of this, the problem with playing Philly here is, number one, the blowout risk. Number two, the fact that Cleveland's their best, I guess, the best part of their teams at least is their defense, and they're always going to show some pride, So I don't know. I do have Hurts listed as one of my top just quarterbacks in general on the slate, but the same issue, I guess. It's not the same issue because, well, now you got AJ Brown back. So Devontae Smith is he's in full practice. So a lot of balls to go around here. Goddard 5,200. I guess that's okay. I don't know. I'm probably underweight on this whole game.
Okay, so I love this because we're totally disagreeing. Everything's
I love it.
I don't necessarily love the game, but I'm going to prioritize Amari Cooper.
Ooh, let's go.
You can't run the ball against Philly. If Philly's another team they're not exactly a pass funnel, but that's what they've become by the nature of the way things have happened over the past few years. And I don't see them having a ton of success running. So I like Judy, I like Cooper, and I like Elijah Moore. The only one
you'll have your game script.
Yeah, and exactly. They should theoretically be down. By the way, I like them plus the points as well this week.
What's your logic in that one? Because I'm very curious.
I think Cleveland is a much better team than they've shown so far. I think that the defense is real. I think that there's some of the Watson plays they've had 3 long touchdowns wiped away this year that would have literally changed games. And I just think that at some point variance comes back and that they're still a decent enough football team. It's just really me betting on the team being better than maybe people think.
Fair enough.
But I like the receivers, and I do like Saquon because I think after the not feeding Saquon enough thing and all that, I think it's going to be, look, Saquon is the McCaffrey, and he's 8,200, and I think we just should be playing him. That's even against a good defense in almost any situation. I think we just should be playing Saquon higher upside than everybody else on every slate. He and Henry, I think, stand out to me as being, sort of clearly 1 and 2, as Henry being number 2 of running backs. All right, Indy, Tennessee.
Yeah. So again, this is thematic. Like just the who has kidnapped Sheets and replaced him with this new person. So I'm going to do the same thing, I guess. Here I'm going to play Will Levis at like $2. And not only is he $2, but DeAndre Hopkins is $2. I mean, like, he's 5,100, and Calvin Ridley 50. I mean, I'm going to do this. Tyler Boyd, does he still play? I mean, he's I don't know. He's had only 2, 4, 5 targets, but he's 4,100 or something like that. I don't know. I'll take my shot. Now, Indianapolis, you have Pittman, who's doubtful. Ouch. So now people are probably going to play Alec Pierce off that game. But I don't know. Is he really somebody I want to play? I don't know. Maybe.
Look at his numbers. It's pretty. He's actually been pretty good.
I know. And we always say that you can't run on Tennessee, but you can pass against them.
Yeah.
boy, oh boy, can I get away with this? Can I stack the New England game and the Tennessee game? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like kind of ridiculous, but it's kind of what I'm kind of leaning towards this week.
Well, I kind of hear you because the other Coors team is Indianapolis, and their defense has actually been better than people thought, but they still play faster than anybody, especially when Anthony Richardson is the quarterback. So Richardson to start off with is way too cheap at 6K. He belongs in that 7K range because of his upside, like with the other guys. So he's way too cheap. I like that. I'm not going to play Sermon at 6K against Tennessee. Again, another team that I'd rather throw the ball against than run. I do like Pollard quite a bit, and I think he's going to be pretty popular. But I think this is a game stack. I think that you have these cheap receivers, and so Josh Downs is the big play, other big play guy, and he's the one that Flacco's just been lighting up. He's questionable, but he'll probably play. Adonai Mitchell for Indianapolis is 3,900, and he's more of like the other guys that sort of go downfield and will throw it long kind of a thing. Mitchell should theoretically play sort of more, I don't know, a little bit more in the mid range. At 3,900, I think he's very interesting. And you have the cheap receivers for Tennessee if you did want to play the Levis stacks. And if you're going to play Levis, this is the week to do it. It's Indianapolis. You're at home. You've got Hopkins and Ridley, who are 51 and 5,700. You have a nice, easy build-itself stack. I'm in on this, Sheets, totally. So I actually do like this one as a game stack. And whether you're stacking or not, I do think that Tony Pollard and one of these receivers from Indianapolis, one of these receivers from Tennessee are all firmly in play, whether you're stacking.
You know what? As we went through these games, I forgot to mention some of the actual position players that I kind of liked. So funny. I've come to none of the receivers yet. We'll get to those later. But running back wise, I did have Kamara as like my fourth best running back. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And I do have Pollard as like my fifth best running back, and I have Saquon, which I forgot to talk about, as my sixth best running back.
Yeah, nice. No, it's good to throw those out there. All right. So Chargers in Denver.
Yeah, I think this one busts. I say bust. I don't think anybody's going to play it, so I don't think it matters. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't have anybody particularly shows up except for, the McConkey at 4,900. That looks, I guess, reasonable enough. But I don't see much exposure in this game for me at all.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at the ownership being so high. Cortland Sutton looks like the most highest owned player on the slate. Okay.
Strange. I can't imagine why I don't have him at all.
I think he's fine. And I think McConkey is fine. The guys I like in this game, give me the running backs and the defenses in general. I like Javonte Williams and I like J.K. Dobbins here quite a bit, especially with Edwards. Even if he's banged up or not, it's pretty clearly been Dobbins' role. I think both these running backs at 62 and 5,500 are firmly in play. The thing I hate about Javonte Williams, and I don't like to do it when it gets to be overly chalk, because it just feels like McLaughlin is always the one getting goal line carries. So, but I do like the running backs here, and that's pretty much all I have from this game. I definitely don't really want to get heavily exposed here at all. Anyway, we can move on.
Pittsburgh, Vegas. We just transitioned into the 4:00 games for that Denver game. Pittsburgh, Vegas. Fields is a good point per dollar quarterback again. He's just pretty cheap. Not that great, but he's one of the plays. Aside from that, there's Najee Harris. I have Najee Harris rated the number 2 running back overall. This game does rate to be pretty low scoring as far as I'm concerned, as most Pittsburgh games are and as most Vegas games are, I think. So I'm probably off of the majority of this with the exception of Najee Harris.
Yeah, I'm definitely not stacking this game, but Najee Harris as the chalk. Like, look, I went through this experience last week. It's not a lot of fun. Najee Harris is, again, I switched to Dowdle. I make 70K instead of 20K last week. But you know what? It is what it is. The projection makes him look amazing. I am fine with Harris. I will be below 40% ownership if that's real. But I do find myself needing some value. But there's other running backs I just mentioned that I think you could use as pivots. And unfortunately, it's the Raiders, and that just makes me feel like they're going to do it. I was hoping George Pickens was going to be low owned because of all the narratives and that he wasn't trying. He hasn't really been running his routes and all these things. And I was like, oh, George Pickens is going to be low owned against the Raiders. He's going to be a priority for me. Well, it turns out he's not going to be low owned at all. So he's going to be really popular. And I just want to throw out that I think that you could do worse for cheap receivers than Trey Tucker, who's had just a boatload of targets. And and Jacoby Myers would be the other one, but he's a little more expensive. I think it's a good idea to get one of the Las Vegas receivers in there, at least get some exposure there. And then, of course, the best Las Vegas receiver in reality is Brock Bowers. Not a great matchup, but I do think that he is one of the, just in terms of highest scoring tight ends, he's probably going to be right there this week. I think people will play some Freiermuth. I'm okay with it, but don't want to get too heavily invested. So I guess Pickens, Bowers, Najee are my main interest, with one of Tucker or Jacoby Myers would be the guys I'm considering.
All right. So as we get into these last two games, this is where, just everything just kind of just explodes for me as far as like plays and whatever. I guess we'll just first ones first. So Atlanta, Carolina, Deontay Johnson for Carolina and Chuba Hubbard for Carolina both look like kind of elite plays at their respective positions. And Atlanta, you have Drake London and Bijan Robinson showing up as really good plays. Atlanta, they all came out of their shell individually last week when Kirk Cousins was throwing for 4 million yards. Daryl Mooney looks like a really good play. And the tough one, as usual, and you kind of pointed this out before, is the Bijan Robinson experience. Like you said, and I'm going to steal your thunder from this. He always projects to be the best player on the slate, and he's never reached his median in years. So proceed at your own risk with the Bijan Robinson experience, because you know what? Whether you think Tyler Algier is good or not, or he deserves it or not, he gets run. He does. He gets plenty of run, and that's just the way it is. And if in fact it is now the Atlanta Air Show, then I don't know what kind of Bijan Robinson at chalk we're going to really want, honestly. Look, the game script seems to make sense, right? Because they're 6-point favorite or whatever, but I don't know. I think Carolina will put points up too. I think this game could kind of shoot out a little bit. So I'm gonna. I like the Chuba Hubbard play more than the Bijan play. If you want to know the truth, they have he'll get the ball coming out of the backfield too. I don't know, but this game definitely has a lot of good pieces to it.
Yeah, I'm going to go on a limb on this one. Just going back to my old feeling about the Atlanta Carolina day games, where I do think this game is going to be an under. I think it's going to be
this one bust. I get it. I got it. Yep.
Yeah, but I don't think all the players bust. I still like Bijan. The thing is, I hate. Like, I didn't like Bijan when he was being projected at 25 fantasy points and he's 8,200, but he's 6,600. There's a very different story playing him this week. So I actually am going to play Bijan this week. I'm lower on Chuba Hubbard than everybody else is. I like the guy in general, but I feel like maybe they're giving him a little too much credit here. Deontay Johnson, Drake London, Ray McLeod, and Darnell Mooney are all guys I will have above 10% of.
Yeah.
I don't know where I end up, but I like all those receivers. I would even throw in Jonathan Mingo if you're going to stack this game, or Xavier Legette. If you're going to stack the game, use those guys as your low-owned ways of playing the game. That would be my take, because they both have the same upside as the other receivers for Carolina, except for Deontay Johnson. Legette could outscore him. He's already done it this year. So that's the way I would treat it. But I like the receivers a little bit. And then I just want to throw out that Jatavion Sanders is 2,600 and seems to be the primary tight end now for Carolina. He's going to have some ownership, but I don't mind going with him at 2,600. So I have some interesting pieces, but I'm definitely not stacking the game. I'm not playing the quarterbacks, especially because they're supposed to be the second and third highest owned quarterbacks I think on the slate.
All right. So Dallas, Detroit, this is if you didn't like any or all of that, this game could really, really go ballistic. Issues are that they're priced pretty healthy. You have to say the least. You have CeeDee Lamb at 8,600. You have Amon St. Brown at 8,100. Jamison Williams, even at 5,800, is not the greatest of all time. Tolbert, he's not showing up as such a great play, but he's not just like a gadget dude anymore. You know what I mean? Like he's actually in there. Especially with Cooks out, and he's like legit a wide receiver too, I think, for this team. Well, the real wide receiver too, I think, is Jake Ferguson. So
right.
So Jake Ferguson at 5K, he dominates my tight end rankings in a really dramatic way actually this week. So you have all these guys for Dallas, not to mention the not to remind you of this, but the final breakout of Rico Dowdle, right?
Right.
And so all these skill position guys can put up numbers, and even the Detroit guys. I don't think I could do the Jahmyr Gibbs at 7K if you want to know the truth. But the game itself can put up 60. It's just going to be tough to play all these guys. I think Ferguson would probably be the priority from Dallas, just at his position.
Yes.
And I don't know, but I know I want to play this game. Dak is certainly, again, like if you want to start with like a good cash player, him at 6,700, I think he's very, very reasonable. Yeah, don't cash your tickets if those last two games are still on the board.
Especially, yeah, I totally agree, and especially this one for me. Like, this is, I don't remember a week in the NFL for the main slate where I've just been so heavily focused on only two games.
Right.
And this is the other game, Dallas and Detroit. And by the way, I don't mind taking it. Like, the thing is with Goff, they're going to try to run the ball, and they'll probably be successful against Dallas, but no one's going to play Goff. And just want to throw out that his ceiling, he can get there in a certain game script. So I'll play all angles of it, but Dak would be my preferred of the two quarterbacks. It's funny because I don't want to play Montgomery or Gibbs particularly out of stacks, but Dallas, you can run the ball on them. And I think if you're going to stack the game, you kind of want to get exposure to that, because I could see those guys. The problem is they eat into each other so much, but what if instead of them splitting 2 and 1 for touchdowns, and they both end up around 20 fantasy points, why can't Gibbs this time end up with all 3 of the touchdowns end up with 35 or somewhere 30 and 30 something? Why can't Montgomery end up on the fair side of that and get 30 something? I think it's possible. So I'm gonna include the running backs. I like CD and I like Amon-Ra, but I love Jamison Williams at no ownership here. This is another. They're letting us go back to it again because they see the low number of targets. I'm just telling you, there might be a low number, but there's a 70-yard bomb every game that he seems to hit. I love this spot for this, and I love this game environment. I love Ferguson. And I think Laporta, Ferguson together is kind of a sneaky way to get different in this stack. I don't know if you need to get that different, but I think Laporta's in play as well. He hasn't been what we expected or what we hoped for this season, but it could flip in a minute. This is how the NFL works. So this is the second heaviest target for me.
It's just hard to play. I mean, it's just hard to get to these guys. I mean, listen, you can't play all these guys that I put in. Like I put in CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, Amon St. Brown, and Jamont and Williams, and you just literally can't play. There's just no cheap running backs this week that I found.
There really aren't that many great cheap ones, but Pollard's 6K. That's pretty reasonable.
So the point is then like these guys, like between Lamb and Brown, these guys are probably not going to be high owned just because it's hard to play them.
I think Lamb and Brown and people will prioritize because there is some other value spots, but I don't think Jamison Williams gets any ownership whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's my take. And I will be over that.
Just by the way, my defense that I just the 3 that I lined up right now, actually just 2 I had were the Eagles and the Bucs. As much as that Rattler guy, I'll play him at 4K. I mean, rookie quarterbacks. I mean, it's kind of rough. So I do like Tampa at 2,600. They're probably going to be like pretty big chalk, actually. Now that I think about it, and I like the Eagles a little bit against Watson. That's all I looked at right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that the Eagles make a lot of sense just straight up, but they're expensive. The Patriots is a cheap one. Yep. Bucks, as you mentioned. I like New Orleans, probably one of the best. I think that
too. Yeah, against Mayfield.
Yeah, but and I think that's pretty much it for me. I'll if I have time, I don't think I'm gonna have time tomorrow to tighten it up, but we'll be live at 11 a.m. Eastern to go through everything. I'll have my exact exposures.
Yep.
All right, Sheets. Anything else?
No, sounds good.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Let's have a great week 6. And Sheets again.